God, I love this music. Welcome to some more Skyrimming with an old D&D player from the 80s and the late 70s who had to quit because she had to raise a child. But then I'm playing again. I'm back in. Let's continue with my last character. Okay, so change characters because I don't want to go around basically yelling at this young lady I hired. So I'm playing an old character from Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm going to talk about her background and my Dungeons and Dragons background. Her name is Blood Dance. She used to have another name. That name was twisted and ripped from her, from a DM from hell, and she became something else instead of the character I originally created. And she actually became better. And I was pissed when this first happened. Okay, so let's get into Blood Dance. You know, they really improved the background. This thing used to dance around when they first put it in. Now it's a lot more stable and I can move around. Tiki, why are you being so loud, baby? I may have to shush him. Shush him away. So, how did I get started playing Dungeons and Dragons? Well, actually, this story kind of starts in the 1950s with my father. My father, as a young man, made friends with some local boys, and they used to do the control planes, the ones that, you know, are on a rope. You know, you build the engine and the plane, and you spin them around on a rope. You go, woo, in a circle, and you fly the plane. So my dad used to build models and trains and all kinds of stuff. And so, of course, he ends up at where? The model store, right? Where and the one in our town used to be called the Last Grenadier. But we go to LA, we go to the train shops, you know. We'd go look at big conventions that they had in LA. Every time we went to go visit my grandparents in Santa Ana, we were hitting train stores and model shops. And he collected, you know, he did a lot of little dioramas and tanks, and I'd always seen military stuff since I was a kid. He did tons of models. And he taught me how to paint and do some models and a little bit about airbrushing.
You have committed crimes against Skyrim and
your
I'm
people. Busted.
What say you in your defense?
I didn't mean to steal the plate. It was an accident.
Smart woman. Now, come along with us.
I'm
we'll
gonna
take
kill
any
you later,
stolen
buddy.
goods, and you'll be free to go.
Yeah, you just keep dancing there. They're gonna take my stuff again. This is typical for Blood Dance, always in trouble. She's a bad girl. Okay, so my dad dragged me off to all these train stores and stuff, and you're looking around at model boxes and trying to find something you might be interested in, you know, because it's not real kid-oriented back then. And I noticed I really liked the little lead figures that they painted. They were really cool.
They say Helgen got hit by a dragon. One of those horrors comes here. We'll be ready.
No, you won't.
I can handle. But this
You're gonna run like a coward, bud. Run away like a coward. Okay, so this eventually led.
Order of the yard. Stop right there.
Oh, they're mad at me again. Here, 5 gold.
Woman.
Keep it.
Now, come along with us.
I guess
we'll
you
take
can't
any
see
stolen
me
goods,
doing this.
and you'll be free to go.
I'll be more careful next time. Well, anyway, so I'm looking for something. I like the lead figures. Some of them are really cool, sort of sexy Buck Roger figures. I remember particularly he had this very cool space alien chick with a vest. She's topless and a gun on her hip. She was like sort of in the vein of Princess Leia, but like sexy, you know, and nude partially. And I remember looking at this figure on his desk, and he did such a great job painting it, like he always did, and I was so impressed by that. And this was more now than just the usual, you know, military stuff, which gets a little boring for a kid. I want to think about space travel and stuff. So I showed an interest in painting. My dad got me some models, and I tried my hand at like a Kiss van and stuff like that, you know. Usually I'd pick car models. And maybe something that had like a logo like the Monkees or something on it, or a special paint job or something. And then one day, we're talking about Lord of the Rings. I think because maybe The Hobbit was that, you know, this Hobbit. Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom. Remember that one? Okay. What are these? Runes. What are runes? We watched that like a whole bunch. And that was something that my parents and I, you know, our as kids really liked together, like Star Wars. And it's hard to find stuff that the kids and the parents like together. You know, Happy Days. It's about as close as you get to a lot of it. So my dad and I are talking about Lord of the Rings and how it came about and everything. And I guess at the model store, he came across the Dungeons and Dragons books. And he buys them, and he brings them home. And he's a he's a chemist at a lab, so he gets these like rubber-covered lead strips that they bend so they can tie test tubes and stuff together. And he's using this for the terrain. This is my dad's first attempt at game terrain. Dang it. Oh, come on. I'm just not concentrating because I'm trying to remember the story. Anyway, he runs one adventure with us. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew it was really super immediately cool. And gelatinous cube is in the first room. Dang it. This big, huge, clear cube that's like a Jello shot that comes and devours you like the blob. And we just panicked. I mean, this was so real for me. I freaked out. We're just screaming at the table. What do we do? I had no clue. My mom is playing with this, you know, and my dad's kind of an impatient guy, and he got real frustrated with us that we couldn't figure out to set it on fire. We're like looking through, he's like, look through your gear. So we're, I don't know, a sword, you know. So we kind of don't get this is a thing you have to solve and all this kind of stuff. I am just wasting a lot of lockpicks here. Come on, you son of a gun. It's so touchy. So he put the set away, kind of never pulled it out again because my dad was never like a super patient guy with people that aren't as super intelligent as he is. It's the mark of a person who's very smart, but he tended to not be real patient. Come on, why? It must be up more. It must be up more. It must be up going too far. Yeah, that's just... Okay, that's like way too many lockpicks I've wasted. Oh, you are kidding me. Making the same mistake. There we go. Maybe I'm only first level, so maybe I just haven't gone up enough in level. I didn't take that much stuff anyway. Blood Dance would not steal everything on the shelf. She only takes what's necessary to her at the moment. Goods are no good if you're dead. She's way more pragmatic than most of the characters I usually play. She has to be. Anyway. So, you know, I always kind of felt bad that I didn't get to really play this D&D thing, and I just got started in the first room. I got killed, and I was like, oh. So I kind of remembered that for a while. And...
Why, you little filcher?
Who the hell saw me? What the... You were asleep. What are you doing awake?
Order of the yard.
I was
Stop
actually,
right
hun, I saw you in the courtyard and I was so attracted to you. I thought I'd sneak in here and make out. You're not going to let me go?
Smart woman. Now, come along.
Oh, he's
with
not
us.
buying
we'll
it.
Take any stolen goods, and you'll be free to go after you pay the fine.
Oh, you guys are so touchy around here. Okay, so, rest of my story. And I gotta go steal stuff again. And I just wasted a bunch of lockpicks. Hopefully I'll be better now. I went through all that. Because I needed experience in lockpicking to make it easier anyway. I'm only first level. Okay, so later in high school, in the 1980s, I
God might
didn't
get
know
nervous.
anybody.
A woman approaches with a weapon drawn.
That's right. Oh, yeah,
I
that's
used to
right.
be an
I can't have
adventurer like
weapons
you.
in here.
Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What's her name? Whoop. Sharon? Okay, so got into high school. I didn't know anybody. You know, and junior high school to me was what children call middle school today. Back in the 70s, it was called junior high school, and it was a little bit more grown up. And they were preparing us to work in factories and stuff. So I had metal shop, wood shop, all kinds of stuff. Automotive class, not in junior high school, but high school. Because all my family worked in, you know, some kind of a factory and we did that back east too. So it was, you know, everybody in my family was expecting to work in a warehouse or something like that. Things changed. We probably lucked out we didn't all end up that way. So, junior high school, I thought, was the greatest time of my life. I was on the yearbook. I was on the newspaper staff. My picture's in the yearbook. I helped design the cover of the yearbook. I mean, yeah, we go to the dances and we would, like, you know, battle over what kind of music would get played with the poor Hispanic kids. And I liked their music just as much, but for some reason it was a thing.
Try Arcadia's Cauldron.
You need to turn around and go someplace else is what you need to do. You just need to vacate. Good for you. You did that. Thank you. Oh, no. Do the sneaking. Okay, so on with my story. So high school, I didn't know anybody. And I'm kind of trying to look around for a group to hang out with. And I noticed that these guys were hanging out at what we used to call Stonehenge, which was a circle of, like, concrete benches in the center of the quad at my high school. And they would hang out there every afternoon. Sometimes you see them playing hacky sack and stuff later on when hacky sack became popular. And I kind of moseyed over there, had some of the guys in class with me, got talking to them, which was really different for me because in junior high school I hung out with all the stoners and the surfers and the, you know, the cool guys, the guys with cars and the guys that hung out at beaches and stuff. And then by the time I got to high school, I met up with all these nerds, you know. I was no longer in the jock community because I was kind of sporty in junior high school.
I spend a lot of time at the market stall so I can learn the merchant's
But I was
trade.
never good enough to really play volleyball that well. That pissed me off. Just could not frickin' spike the ball over the net. I could hit it. I could serve. I couldn't overhand serve. I could underhand serve really good. I could just put it right where I wanted, but I just could not spike the ball. Too short. Could not jump. That was my one weakness. I always regret volleyball. A tetherball, too. I was never that great at tetherball. Soccer, football, had that stuff down. You know. Anyway. So, like, meet these nerds. They play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, ooh, hey, you know. I've always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. You know, I tried with my dad. So, and my brother, by this time, my younger brother, had started buying the stuff that was showing up at the comic book store. You know, the books and stuff. And that was back when, like, GURPS, just before GURPS and all that. I think they called it the fantasy role-playing game or something back then. Oh, did I pass my horsey? I did find a horsey on the road. See if the horsey's coming. So I joined their group. I had no clue what I was going to do. So they tell me I have to make a character. And so I'm at home, and I'm thinking, because I don't know. It's before, I mean, you know, what the hell do you know about the Middle Ages when you're a kid in the 1970s? I'm watching Danny Kaye movies and shit, trying to imagine what costumes look like in the buildings and everything. Or a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. I'm like watching that stuff because it's the only thing I can find to even indicate what this world is. All you Game of Thrones people have no clue what it was like in the 70s. I mean, the references that I had to turn to for story ideas were basically stuff you see on Turner Classic Movies today. Yeah, I mean, I was King Arthur's Court, all kinds of stuff. Anything I could find, plot twist, we were trying to throw into a game somehow. Okay, so I joined this gaming group, thought of my character, and I kind of came up with this girl, Rain Greenbow. I'm always noun verb or noun verb noun on my names, you know. Blood Dance, Rain Greenbow, you know, this kind of thing. Pendragon, you know, or something. You know, I just like those two names together thing. I tend to do that a lot with my characters. Sometimes I don't, but in the old days in high school, I did a lot. It was like a crutch. Okay, so get in this gaming group, create this character Rain Greenbow, because I'm a girl and I kind of think this is what everybody expects of me, you know. And she's a sort of American Indian, Southwest American Indian style female, long brown hair, a long, you know, a braid on her back, you know, like Cher hair, kind of Cher hair. Leather, you know, soft deer leather outfit, a bow, very nature-oriented. And she grew up on the cliffs where her people had built, you know, like these buildings, yeah, like you see in places in the West where the Indians had built into the cliff sides and stuff. That's where she grew up, and
Lady,
I made this story
spare
that...
a coin?
Yeah, sure. Hey, here you go.
Oh, thank you. Divines, bless your kind heart.
This is a
All right,
cruel
then.
world, kid. Toughen up. Anyway,
Careful if you cross the river to the east.
so I made this character Rain. Her father was, you know, like a shaman, and he had been secretly training her in some of the ways of her people, even though women weren't supposed to be
spend a lot of
involved
time
in
at the
these
market
sorts of
stall
things
so I
in
can
their
learn
tribe.
merchant's
I just
trade.
made up a whole, because we didn't have campaign books or nothing. We just made shit up. You know, I'm from some distant land, you know. Okay, so I based it sort of on Westerns. My family really watched a lot of John Wayne and stuff, so I was looking for that Destarte. Remember, Hondo talked about this girl he was in love with named Destarte. I think that was her name. And he talked about how her hair was beautiful and she was, you know, wonderful, and he was deeply in love with her, and he lost her, you know. And the chick that Hondo had met had to kind of live up to this dead girl that he had once loved. And I really liked that character idea. I wanted to try that. So I get into this game. And of course, I'm thinking she's going to need a love interest, but that's kind of in the back of the mind. All my friends have characters...
Disrespect the law and you disrespect me.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so all my friends have characters like the new friends I'm making. They've got like wizards and thieves and, you know, this kind of stuff. They're trying to be different, and they're trying to, you know, stand out in a group. And this one guy that we were at his house gaming, he had an orc character that was always in the back, quiet. And he said very little, but all the other characters seemed to do everything he said. And I'm like, as a girl, who the hell is this guy? Not only in real life in high school, they do everything this guy says, because I was I was listening to a conversation over by, you know, the student council building with his friends, and they're like, well, he says this, and he says that, and well, I thought that, you know, and they were having this big conversation, and the guy wasn't even there, and it was like he was having input. And I'm like, who is this guy? Yeah, so I started to observe. Well, lo and behold, before all was said and done and our adventure was over, our campaign, we were dating. Because I was like, this is the dude, you know? And his whole dark, brooding persona interests me, and it's super smart, you know? So I was attracted to him. I started dating him. And he was a very practical DM. And he punished my character heavily for having a long braid. Because he's like, makes a good handle. I got the crap beat out of me
look
this
tired,
battle.
friend.
And I deserved it. And I respected that. I really respected that he did that. I thought that was pretty cool. And that's when I learned, hey man, just because people are your friend or your boyfriend or something does not mean you ain't going to get your ponytail pulled in a battle just because you think it's pretty. Good lesson. It was a good lesson. A bunch of other stuff happened because everybody's, they're teeny boppers. We're all teeny boppers and we're emotional, and this is a form of socializing, and it's risky. I mean, it's the 1980s. We're unsupervised and we're imagining very deep, complicated characters, or we're beginning to. For instance, my first character, Rain Greenbow, is quite shallow and silly and just the first thing I thought of, and kind of because I thought that's what everybody wanted, So my second character, I made a paladin, a male paladin. The typical male paladin like you would see in, old movies and stuff. Pendragon. And
Damn
then
those Grey Mains to oblivion. They want to back the Stormcloaks, they'll get what's coming to them.
Then, after playing him for a while, I realized how boring paladins are. Because paladins are, oh my goodness, a cat up a tree. I must go and save them. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but back then, kids can apply those rules pretty harshly. So, I mean, literally everybody I had to go save. And it was kind of annoying. Because now my character can't do this and can't do that. It really limited my options as a player because I had this moral compass I had to follow, right? And that's not as true today in Dungeons & Dragons as my friends played it back in the day. We couldn't afford all the books. We had to make up some of the stuff as we go, So, I got the paladin was powerful. Had a good sword, good armor class. I can fight, right? I can heal. I can do stuff, But boring. You just could not get away from the sense of boringness that you seem to feel, I'm just walking around talking and thinking. So I decided to add something I had seen on Showtime or HBO. I'm trying to think of his name. Shame on me for not having it come directly to my mind immediately. But the guy from Ferris Bueller played a kid on stage who goes on a camping trip with a friend of his. And they sexually experiment with each other. And the whole play is about them dealing with the consequences of his feelings about this. And I only saw part of it. I didn't see all of it. But it touched me. Something about it. I mean, it's the 1980s, and I'm watching this. And I was like, man, this is the guy from Ferris Bueller. This is cool, So I thought, I don't know if Ferris Bueller... No, it hadn't come out yet. But I knew I liked this actor, right? And he was moving up, I think, to Ferris Bueller or something at the time. So I was really impressed with this. And I had, I'll be honest with you. Me and a little girl had played around with each other when we were young. My mom caught me. It was interesting. But I like guys, I'm a guy person. But I saw, hey, it could be real warm and fuzzy. I wasn't against it. Real interesting. So I wasn't, traumatized by this event. But I could understand how some people would be, especially if their belief system was different. I was too young to know any better, and I didn't care. I didn't think it was really that important. We were just rubbing up against each other, We didn't even know what to do. So, I decided to make it so that Pendragon had a son. A son he was ashamed of. A son he sent off to a ninja school, because don't that make sense? That a paladin sends his son off to a ninjutsu school high in the mountains, away from everybody, some monastery, to go study, because he can't deal with the fact he knows his son is gay. And that's part of this whole, Christian-like belief system that we were playing for our paladins. Okay, so, and I drew comics in high school about how, Pendragon had the same kind of experiences I had seen in this play, and was just, I knew kids in high school that were questioning their sexuality, and the girls kind of protected him because we knew. No, leave him alone. He's cool. We did a lot of that kind of stuff for people. Anyway, we got real protective of him. It's like, no, not leave him alone. He's fine. No, he's just, why you gotta be like that? And then sometimes we'd be like, whoa, he's really testing the boundaries, but we still were super protective of people when we met them in class and knew that, they were different. There was something different going on there, and people were picking on him for it. So, I made this character, and I guess maybe one of my friends who was DMing didn't like it. So my character gets really killed. So this character, which I named him after Roddy McDowall's character in the Planet of the Apes TV series, Galen. So his name was Galen. And Galen had just left the monastery and started to go out into the world and adventure and discover who he was when my friend, the DM, killed him. And I had worked so hard on this character, and this was the first time where I had a backstory I was compelled by. I knew it was dangerous, but it was compelling. I wanted to play this character, Nope. So I don't know if it was about him being gay or that I was a bad player. I'm not really sure what it was. But he ended quickly. And I was upset by that. I went in the bedroom and I cried. I laid on the bed and I cried. I'm a little embarrassed by that today, but it's important when you lose your first real character. It's a moment. You feel like you can't make any more. That's a wrong feeling, but everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through it. Because everybody eventually is good at D&D. So anyway, kind of gave me a bitter feeling that this happened. I talked to my boyfriend, who was another powerful DM in our group, and I said, I want to run an adventure where Pendragon goes to hell and trades his soul for his son. And my boyfriend said, well, I don't know. That's a whole adventure just based on one character. That means you can't die. And I'm like, hey, if I die, I die. It isn't to protect my character. He's going to die. It matters when he dies, yes, but it's, the point is he tries. Whoop. Shoot straight. So, my boyfriend, being a very intelligent guy, thought about it, and said, ooh, this is my chance to run Dante's Inferno. Which, he was he used to go to parties, sit in the corner and read Shakespeare. He wouldn't talk to nobody. He'd just eat the pizza and read Shakespeare and hold court. He was kind of pompous. I was attracted to that. He was like the intelligent bad guy. He smoked a pipe. I mean, Oh, I really was in love with this guy. I loved him dearly. I still do. I hope he's okay out there. Anyway, so he decided that yes, he would run this adventure. And he ran us through Dante's Inferno. And finally, Pendragon is standing before the devil. And the devil is upside down, attached to the ceiling. And the other half of him is out of sight because the other half of him is God. Because they're the same being, but two creatures attached to each other. And I made the deal, and Pendragon awoke on a beach, far, far away after a shipwreck, not being able to remember who he was, and in a brand new body. And my character Pendragon became a tree in one of the planes of hell, because that's what happens to people who commit suicide. In Dungeons & Dragons, was my shit after that. I'll tell you what, man, and it's been ever since. Because that is a good story, man. And it was made because, you know, some guy was unfair in combat, I think. But, you know, it also could be I was very young and sensitive and felt like I should get my way. And why is it not easier on me? And, you know, I'm a girl, and then one of the guys in the group is my boyfriend. So it could be that I had those feelings and just wasn't picking up on that.
This here's a toll road, see? You're gonna have to hand over, say, 200 gold if you want to use our road. That's a real shame.
Really?
Gotta make it hard for you.
That is so nice. Shut up. Here's your toll. No. I notice when they get close, you can't shoot the bow as easily. It, like, disappears. Makes sense. You're using a long-range weapon for short-range combat. Things I learned while playing D&D. Oop. Thanks. May I have another? I love when they give me their arrows. Oh. That was nice of them. What are you gonna shoot animals now? Oh, yeah, that's right. There's another guy over there. Where is he? Shoot another one at me so I know where you're at. He must have... Oh, there. No. Did he fall? Sometimes they fall. He's shooting at an animal. What a dip. Oh, okay. He's got too much cover there. Thank you. I don't like going in these things. It's like, oh good, a maze. I mean, you get freebies, but I'd rather be just direct in my attack. Dance around so much. But it's nice to have the cover.
Tell you what, you start running, so I can stab you in the back.
Come on. One more. That's it. Switch weapons. Okay, so love the Pendragon story. I mean, really enjoyed that. So, kind of played some other characters from that point. Not as great, you know, everybody makes an adventure and you make a new character. I ended up later on, you know, breaking up with my boyfriend, but that was after I got out of high school and stuff. Let's see. Let's try the Imperial Sword. And the Iron Sword. Hello.
It's so much easier to roll when you're dead.
Alright. So then... Where the hell is this guy? Oh, there he is. Good. So, let's see. After high school, I started playing with some friends from high school that, you know, hadn't gone off to college. And, you know, we were playing a bit, and people were getting a little bored with, you know, just one of us DMing, which was usually not me, you know, because I'm not like the math person. And there's a lot of rules in D&D. I'm good at coming up with stories and stuff. I am not great at actually rolling the dice and knowing what the attacks are. And some of these usually, even to this day, the rules are still kind of a mystery to me. And they keep changing. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Would she kill him if he's crawling away? Hell, what is with this? Yeah, what is with that? It's crooked. It's not me. I always get the busted one. Get the busted one. Okay. So then my other friend, and this is how I got to Blood Dance. What's that? Oh, and there's a bitch up there I gotta go get. Anyway, so this other friend of mine, he says he's gonna run a campaign based on Egyptian gods and stuff. And we were still hunting around for, you know, some sort of a world to play in because we didn't, you know, I had a friend who loved Greyhawk.
Must have run off.
You know, he loved Greyhawk. He was American Indian, so makes sense. Greyhawk has kind of got a character like that in it. Anyway, he was such a good artist.
That's all you got?
He came up with one of the most famous characters in our group, and most annoying, Shiva, half-elven. We love Shiva to this day. We played it so she's off somewhere adventuring somewhere, because my friend who played her passed away. Diabetes. Complications from diabetes. Anyway, that's a different story. We all cried. A lot. How can you not hit that guy? Boom! Yes, thank you! That's the thing about a gaming group. It changes. People break up, they move away, things change. They're always changing. Can't step in the same piece of water twice. Okay, so my friend Martin and I, and a couple other people, I think my brother Mike, we go into my other friend's adventure, which is supposed to be Egyptian based. And I'm not really into it, but I'm going to play along because I'm friends with them. So I just make kind of this character. I say, okay, she's half elven, you know. She's from my continent wind home that I made up in high school. Because we didn't have any, you know, there was no Forgotten Realms back then. There was no Waterdeep like it is today and all this kind of stuff. And it was actually just at the time my friend Martin was buying all that campaign equipment, or, you know, books and stuff. And my elven character I had created ended up in Waterdeep because of the Time of Troubles, because of the battle between the gods, which I never quite understood, and all the magics going crazy. So he just said, as a result, you are literally teleported from one realm of reality into this one. They're very similar, so you don't really notice much of a difference. And our worlds never really had boundaries anyway, so it just made sense to us, you know. This is how we were going to not have to make new characters for the Forgotten Realms when it came out. So I made this half-elven character. She's pretty bland, normal chick. You know, she goes into this Egyptian adventure, which is very dreamlike, in like a dreamlike oasis that seems to expand forever with pyramids and stuff and weird gods talking to us, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And some god of mischief and chaos and stuff grabs a hold of my character. Against my will, right? No rolls, no nothing. Takes me to this temple somewhere and literally rips my character into shreds at a cellular level and torches her, and takes my character from neutral good to, I think it's chaotic evil, or neutral evil is what happened, and a drow elf. And I said, you can't do that. And he said, yes, I can. I'm the DM. I can do whatever I want. And I said, no, this is way beyond the normal things. You can't just change people's alignment. I remember having these conversations before with my friends. You can't just go taking their character and rip their character down and recreate their character and say, now here's your character. And I said, that's wrong. You've ruined my character. How am I supposed to play an evil character that's a drow elf? Because drows were not, Drist Warden and all that kind of stuff. So I talked to my friends, and they said, you guys aren't going to let this happen, are you? Because this is wrong. Back me up. And they're like, he's the GM. It's his game. He gets to say. And I'm like, that's bullshit. And then they're all, you're going to have to get rid of your character now and make a new character. And I said, fuck no. You're going to be sorry that you did this to her. And I went home and I thought about it, and I was pissed. I was pissed. But then I began to realize how this might actually be a really good character. Because she was still friends with these people. So she stuck around. After all, why did it happen to me? Why didn't it happen to them? Why didn't they save me? And were they really my friends? I mean, in game, you know what I mean? My character, Blood Dance, was pissed, okay? She knew what had happened to her. She knew that her adventuring group had abandoned her and left her to be tortured and twisted and returned to them. And they just expected her to go away now. No, that's not what happened. They grew to love her. They grew to love hating her. I was the best villain that they had ever created. Because I was their friend. And they knew I was right. They screwed me. So, she could play on it every time they captured her. They found out her plot to betray them. She would drop her weapons and get on her knees. Oh, forgive me. Because she knew their alignments. I'm so sorry. I have learned my lesson. You know it's because of what happened to me. And it's your fault. It was a weapon she could always use. So, I got to go on a lot of adventures. And I got to play this part as sort of the backstabby character that you weren't too sure about in the party. Because they had to let me, because they allowed this to happen. I was not forcing the situation on them. They were forcing the situation on me. Anyway, that's the way I saw it in high school. Or immediately after high school. So now I was a drow elf. Whose friends had abandoned her, adventuring friends. So let's talk now. Let me tell you what, in Blood Dance's own words, what she really thinks. Adventurers are fools. They group together like they're friends, but when the chips are down, they turn on each other. If you put your hands, or life, in the hands of a friend, adventurer, you're a fool.
I'm on my way to Solitude to join the Legion. A united empire is better for everyone.
And you're another one. Going off to put your trust in perfect strangers that will betray you in the end. Won't they? She learned to use snake-like words to make the characters doubt who they were, since she understood deeply what it was to doubt who you are. And yet deep inside of Blood Dance, she could never truly kill her friends, because she did love them. That's why she hurt so bad. That's why she was so angry. So she would always somehow, sort of subconsciously, blow her own plot, or betray the lich she had sided with, and just mark it up to how evil she was. And just because her friends managed to survive, didn't mean that Blood Dance was not eventually going to try to kill them. She was always in conflict over it. See what I mean? A fantastic character! So my friend Martin, he had Shiva half-elven, which I talked about. And she was this, a good elf that eventually joined the Harper. She was a busybody, really. Just like, oh, do you need saving? I'm over there. Yeah. She was always the hero. She went up way too high in level. We could never kill her. She killed everything in every dungeon that ever existed. My friend Martin was a brilliant artist, and he would draw her basically sort of as a cross between ElfQuest and all the covers from Dragonlance combined. She was beautiful. We loved her. But man, she was too powerful. You'd make a new character and jump into an adventure with her, and she's fighting a dragon, and you're like, holy shit, holy shit. She got a lot of people killed. So that's like a little how I got started on Dungeons and Dragons, what it means to me,
Why are we even going to a wedding?
what it's meant to me since high school in the 80s, why I play it today. Because to me, making these characters and actually going into combats and thinking about the physicality of the combat and strategy of taking on a group of people and role-playing, all this stuff is just amazingly entertaining and fun. And sometimes you just pop into a great story by accident. I mean, purely just through bumbling or cruelty or jealousy. And next thing you know, it kicks off an amazing story that you're going to remember from high school, or from just after high school like I do. That is as real to me as Star Wars. That is part of my personal story, and nobody else can have it. No one else can have Blood Dance. She's mine. You see? That's what Dungeons and Dragons is. Eventually, Blood Dance, and I made another character, Wiccan High Moon, because I needed a wizard.
Take this and hold on to it. I'll be back for it later. I'll pay you good. Don't lose it. No time to talk. Snitch or double-cross me and I'll kill you. I mean it.
Oh, fuck that. You don't threaten me. You are not the danger that knocks. I am.
Did you see someone run past just now?
Nope.
Well, if you do, grab him and yell. Bastard stole from me.
Yeah, I didn't see shit. I'm blind in one eye. And this one, cataracts. Yeah. Okay, so eventually, Blood Dance and Shiva grew to be nemesises and friends. And oh my god. Oh my god. Wiccan High Moon was a character I created because I began to think that going into dungeons and just randomly cleaning them out and then having them restock was a big, huge waste of time. And we always went into dungeons and left all the old books and everything behind and only took treasure and magic items. And I was beginning to think this just wasn't good business. So I wanted to create a character that actually made this into a money-making operation and more like a business. And that beating a dungeon was sort of a form of gentrification. You're running out the ogres in that so that maybe some humans could come in and resettle and repopulate the area. You're running out some poor family of trolls. They're just on the wrong side of the tracks, you know what I mean? That's kind of how Wiccan looked at it. He wanted to build a public library that was accessible for average citizens in Waterdeep. He just wanted to add to the community, and he didn't believe in all this just random hobo, what do they call it, murder hobo philosophy. He thought they were retaking the realms from from being a savage land and trying to make it civilized. He was trying to build a modern Waterdeep, basically, in his own small way. So one of the first things he did was buy a villa in Waterdeep, because there's a lot of buildings on the map that are not marked. So I just picked one out, and I kind of based it on the Palazzo idea from, you know, how they had all sort of these roaming mob gangs during the time of, what the hell is this, like Shakespeare did, you know, like Romeo and Juliet. That story is about two mob families that are fighting in a city. And they're very wealthy, and their buildings are beautiful, but they're actually fortresses disguised as a beautiful building. So all the windows at the bottom are little slits like this, and all the windows at the top, they could drop molten lava on you or something. So I kind of based it on that idea that this was a villa, and inside he had sort of a hostel for up-and-coming adventurers that came into town and were looking for work. And he would train them. They gathered so many extra potions and items that they're never going to use during all these adventures that he began to keep them in a tower, you know, like in a secured room in Waterdeep, and dole them out to new adventurers a little bit at a time to start off new companies of adventurers so they could go out and do things. He would give them like one item to help them or something, you know, because they would end up with all this extra stuff. And this became a way for us to generate new characters. They just came from this group. And I thought really hard about the name. What am I going to call them? What are they doing? They're trying to logically and rationally handle the many tribulations and problems that exist in the realms. So I came up with the Empiric Lords of the Tribulation. Empiric meant that they used empiric thought to solve problems, supposedly, and rational planning, forethought, you know, stuff like that, what most adventuring companies don't do. So I put it in the name, the Empiric Lords, the Lords of Empiricism, okay, of the Tribulation. What's the Tribulation? All this shit. All this kind of shit that's always happening in this kind of a world. Or Westeros or whatever. What's the tribulation? What's the tribulation in our world, you know? Whatever it is. We're the Empiric Lords of it. So I started to hire adventurers, and then, you know, my son was getting older, and he was a toddler, and it's not so easy to play Dungeons and Dragons for 4 hours with a toddler. So I kind of left the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and after many adventures with Wiccan High Moon and Blood Dance and Shiva and the Bard, my brother had the Bard, Flamboyant. Oh boy, you talk about flamboyant. He would play him. He'd come in jumping and singing. He'd bounce, bing, 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 off the walls, and wing, we're playing the guitar and land. I love Mike's character. He also had a really great wizard named McLexstick who built a tower, and he invited us all to a party unveiling his wizard's tower, and he'd drawn up this whole wizard's tower. It was great. Oh, it was great. I love Dungeons and Dragons. You know, like with the Empiric Lords, I also threw a party to meet with the Lords of Waterdeep and invite them so that they knew that we meant good. We weren't trying to create some sort of a dark organization. We were kind of, you know, corral some of these adventurers that wander about and get themselves into trouble. You know, Wiccan had a plan. There was a lot of young men out there with not much better to do than go shoot at monsters and stuff. Why not make that into something? You know, that should be organized and profited upon for everybody, you know. Not just random hero stories all over the place. Let's make this thing work for us, you know. That's what Wiccan was trying to do. So he invites some of the lords of Waterdeep. Not all of them come, like maybe one representative, and some local magistrates and stuff. Well, guess what? The Harpers show up, and they're skulking around at my party, and they start to recruit the people in the party that are my friends, that are Empiric Lords of the Tribulation. So guess how long the Empiric Lords lasted? Not very long. Wiccan ended up running it all by himself with Blood Dance, because everybody else went off to join the Harpers. Wiccan does not have a very soft place in his heart for the Harpers. They came and poached a bunch of my members, and that pissed me off. They poached Shiva. Shiva was all too excited to go off and join the Harpers when they invited her. Ooh, I get a pin. Ooh. I'm like, hey, what am I, chopped liver over here? I'm telling you, D&D is the greatest fucking game ever on Earth. And you don't have to play Dungeons & Dragons. You could play anything. You could be in any world. It's not really the point what the world is or the conflicts. It's the characters and the interaction. That's what's fun. What? Oh yeah, Tiki's gonna sit in here and scream the whole time. Oh, she wants to be friends. Hi. What's your name? Corpsey. Blood Dance. I love playing her. I kind of have an adventure hook I've been wanting to do, but what the fuck is this stuff? Oh, these are these hearts. I want them all. Look at the cool tiki lighting she has. Look at these. It looks like Star Wars Galaxy Edge up in here. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever killed you before. I think I'm new killing this one. Let's see, I tried playing GURPS, the generic role-playing game. Did Space Adventures. Don't like Space Adventures because you get stuck on a ship turning knobs. You know, same reason I didn't like baseball. Standing in line, waiting for your turn to hit the ball. Boring! I just don't have the attention span for that. Just bored me. Ah, there's the city. It's kind of fun wandering around purposely, without purpose here. Purposelessly. So I played a lot of D&D. Hours and hours. We used to go over to each other's house. You know, everybody would have to take a turn because the parents did not want to put up with 10 hours of you being in their house. And I mean, we would play for 8 hours, 10 hours. When we really got going, man. This stuff we would talk about at lunch. We would talk about at break at school. One time, a friend of mine annoyed the hell out of me all lunch period by saying, what if an ogre faced up against a dragon? What if a troll faced up against an ogre? What if... I'm like, stop. Just stop. Please, no more stop. I'm going to strangle you if you name 2 more matchups. The whole lunch period he did that. I was like ready to kill him. We used to talk about it all the time. Draw pictures, show each other the pictures. Really help my advancing my artwork because you had a passion. You wanted to see it. Every time you did something in an adventure, I'd either be during the game drawing what was happening, or my friend Martin's drawing what was happening, you know, or we would do it afterwards. We'd try to do like one scene out of the big adventure, you know, with all our characters in there. To us, it was like our own personal comic book we were writing. And it was a story only for us. It's not for the rest of you. That's the point. This is one story that doesn't belong to Hollywood, doesn't belong to the world. It doesn't belong on the fucking New York bestsellers list. It's mine. And you can't have it. It was ours. We lived it. You know, I said this online once. I learned who my friends were by the way they played Dungeons and Dragons. And I saw their heart. Makes me cry.
It's no secret the Aretino boy is doing some ritual, trying to call the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah, why'd you do something about that? Ain't it your job?
No part.
Shh. Lazy people telling me about stuff they should be handling. So my cynical side, definitely, I learned a lot from Blood Dance. She is part of my adult cynical side today.
Guard might get nervous. A woman approaches with a weapon.
The Nords don't appreciate us.
And I would say that's kind of a DM to DM from Hell Stories, but they're not. Because it turned out alright. It was kind of just what I needed. A kick in the butt. Characters with conflict are way more interesting than, oh, I'm a pretty elf girl. It just like got a pretty hairdo, you know. Scarred, damaged, angry, frustrated people are way more fucking interesting.
Probably best.
Sometimes it's nice to see the goody too. I mean, you know, I love Heidi. Heidi's a great character. Miss Brisby in The Secret of Nim, fantastic character. Wonderful hero role model. She's my favorite female hero role model because she doesn't do anything.
Hi, lady. Would you like to buy some flowers? Please?
Yes. Yes. And
Not much, but I hope you like them.
of course. And do not ever call me lady the fuck again. I'll buy everything that you have, dear.
Stop by again.
Of course. Children are off limits for Blood Dance. This is in Vietnam. Blood Dance, oh, it did have morals. She just was so angry and hurt and bitter. Anyway, I was talking about how I had an idea to use her and Wiccan and the Empiric Lords as NPCs in adventure. And I was going to have all the characters sitting around and Wiccans, you know, hiring them to do something. And then she enters the room and just basically looks at them like they're dirt. Adventurers. The lowest form of life. How nice. You won't live long. Just bitter and angry and knowing, yeah, like just this, like, you ain't gonna be here long, dear. So just don't even. Because every new adventure she looks at, she remembers that first adventuring party.
And you refuse to help the Stormcloaks.
We haven't taken a side because it's not our fight.
Hey, maybe the reason these Greyskins don't help in the war is because they're Imperial spies.
Maybe it's because you don't ask nice.
You can't be serious.
Maybe we'll pay you a visit tonight, little spy. We
Oh,
got ways
please
of
do,
finding out what
sweetie.
you
I'd
really
love
are.
to entertain you. Hey, hey, why don't you pick on somebody
Looking
your
for
own size,
shipping?
bro?
We always offer better service than the East Empire Company. Nothing new there. Most of the Nords living in Windhelm don't care much for us, but Rolf is the worst by far. He likes to get drunk and walk around the Grey Quarter yelling insults at us in the small hours of the morning. Oh, a real charmer, that one.
Small penis
Safe
guys
travel.
tend to do that. You know, you gotta feel sorry for him, really.
Name's Nils. I'm the cook up at
I told you to leave my tools alone. You have yours, and I have mine.
I didn't touch it.
Hammers don't have legs.
Did you look behind the forge? I think I saw it there.
Oh, yes. Now that you mention it, I think...
Smack, 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 smack. Oh, now that you mention it.
Everyone says Yorland Greymane is the best smith in Skyrim. I plan to change a few minds about that.
Well, I don't think that dementia you're suffering from is going to help. Can't find things.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
But it's better paying, probably. You have steadier hours and you don't have to waste your time in cold, miserable dungeons. You should be happy. I mean, I've had a cough. Ever since fighting the Drugar, I just can't seem to get rid of this cough. Dusty old cold dungeons. Let's see, what other stories can I tell you about Dungeons and Dragons? We started playing again a couple years ago because, you know, I've always wanted to get back into it. Now my husband and I are official empty nesters. Our son is a grown man, off on his own life, and he plays with us, which is like one of the greatest things that can happen to a D&D player is when your kid is old enough to play with you. First time I told him about it, we were in the Volkswagen. We were driving through town, and I said, he goes, well, what is it? And I said, well, I can explain it to you right now.
Beasts. I'm proof of their ignorance.
And I just did this whole, you're a young elf, and you're in a beautiful green forest. Yeah, I did this whole, like, quick little just description, ask questions, have him answer them, and I said, that's Dungeons and Dragons. That's all it is.
The Stormcloaks are finding victory.
It's basically shows how simple, what do they call that? Simple systems become complicated. D&D started out simply. And it's becoming more and more complicated as it goes along. And I believe that somewhere out there in the future, it still exists, and it's changed. And I can't exactly see what it's going to be, but it's going to be something else. And this shit has something to do with it.
Torrig was merely a message to the other Jarls. Whoever we replace them with will need the support of our
Hi, guys! What's going on?
Things hinge on White.
Anyway, I thought I'd just kind of wander around, not really do anything serious, and talk about Dungeons and Dragons and my character Blood Dance and how I got into it. And, you know, basically my dad was in the models, and Dad just brought me to the stores where they had the stuff to buy, you know, to play, and it was one of those things where a kid's interest and an adult's interest seem to come together. The parent and the child loving something that they've discovered together. It's a beautiful thing. My dad doesn't play D&D, but he loves Star Wars, and, you know, he still loves model building. He sees all the stuff we do for our D&D table, and he's really impressed. And we're like, Dad, you taught us this stuff. We're building on all the stuff you taught us. And other stuff we're learning from people we see online and stuff. But all of this comes from you wanting to make a plane and fly it around on a string, in a way. Isn't that crazy? Even those guys spinning a plane around on a string, they see themselves in the plane, not at the end of the string. They see themselves in the plane. I think it also says something about human beings and why we are going to be very different than the AI we create. The AI we create can't do this. And we can. I think that's important. I don't know why, though. The weirdest things become important. I also was a big, huge fan of cannabis while I was playing D&D. That was kind of our thing. Smoking, I'm going to use the word cannabis, during Prohibition, and playing D&D was like the things we did to sort of, that was our relaxation, you know. Didn't drink. I don't drink while I'm playing D&D. Drinking is, in my opinion, does not go well with Dungeons and Dragons. It's a lot of math and stuff, you know. Cannabis can make you groggy and sleepy. So, you know, you do it to help focus for a long period of time, but not so much that now you're, you know. Because if you're sort of somebody who needs stimulation a lot, D&D is focusing on a combat that in your in your mind only takes a second, but in reality takes an hour, which I find fascinating because I used to bodyboard, and this one time I'm on a wave. I finally caught a frickin' wave. And I'm in the face of the wave, and I've shoved the board into the edge, and underneath is air under the other side of the board, and I'm laying on it, and I'm like this. And the wave is moving, and suddenly everything is like in slow motion. And it seemed to go on forever. And then I went over the top, and I did it, and I was like, woo! You know, all happy and stuff like this. And I was watching the surfers on the beach, and when they get on the wave, it's like, and they're off. But when you're on it, it's whoosh, whoosh. It's like time slows down. I think D&D plays with our minds like that in a way. It takes hours to run a game, but then when you think back on it, you don't think of, it's like a trip you went on. You don't think of all the hours you spent in the car. You just think of the places you went to. See what I mean? Somehow, there's something really super important about being able to do this as a human with our processing brain, but I can't quite figure out why it's important. Just feels important, you know. I didn't think being a fan of cannabis was important until Prohibition came along. Legalization, and then I realized, holy crap, I was like on a quest and everything. I didn't even know it. I was on a quest. I was part of a quest. I didn't even know it. I mean, I always kind of felt there was something important about it. But I mean, you know, your attitude was more like, oh, we're just having fun. You know. Later, I realized, wow, no, instinct really drove me towards this for a reason. Beyond my ability to reason. Because it wasn't